All right, we got a temporary win in regards of the AP being banned from the White House news corps, mainly like the White House, Oval Office, or whatever, and Air Force One. And the reason that they were banned was because they would not refer to the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America, and that hurt Trump's feelings. Anyways, AP wins reinstatement to White House events after judge rules government can't arch journalists. Now, I say this is a temporary win because the Supreme Court has been really weighing in on a lot of stuff recently, and as kind of suspected, it ain't good. So I wouldn't be surprised if in a week that the Supreme Court steps in and overturns this. Let's be real. But let's read and take our good news from now. And who knows if Trump will even actually follow this court order. So a federal judge ordered the White House on Tuesday to restore the Associated Press's full access to cover presidential events, affirming on First Amendment grounds that the government cannot punish a news organization for its content of its speech. And again, that was because they wouldn't call the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. It's such a bizarre timeline we're on. It was unclear whether the White House would move immediately to put McFadden's ruling into effect. McFadden held off on implementing his order for a week, giving the government time to respond to our appeal. Shortly after the ruling, an AP reporter and photographer were turned away from joining a motorcade with the White House press pool to cover Trump's appearance before the National Republican Congressional Committee. The AP has been blocked since February 11th from being among the small group of journalists to cover Trump in the Oval Office or aboard Air Force One, with sporadic ability to cover him at events in the East Room. We are gratified by the court's decision, said AP spokeswoman Lauren Easton. Today's ruling affirms that the fundamental right of the press and public to speak freely without government retaliation. This is a freedom guaranteed for all Americans in the U.S. Constitution. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, one of the administration's officials named in the lawsuit, did not immediately return a message seeking comment. In its action filed on February 21st, the AP sued Leavitt, White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, and Deputy Chief of Staff Taylor Budowich. Many media outlets have been playing defense with this administration. Trump has moved aggressively against the media on several fronts since taking office. Again, the Federal Communications Commission has opened lawsuits against ABC, CBS, and NBC News. Are you kidding me? The administration has sought to cut off funding for government-run news services like Voice of America and is threatening public funding for public broadcasters PBS and NPR for allegedly being too liberal in news coverage. Too liberal in news coverage. Go ahead and read a few NPR articles, okay? Because this is all about bias, right? Go read a few NPR articles and then go read a few Fox News articles on the same subject, and you tell me who you think is being more neutral and objective. Okay? Go ahead. I dare you. And if you're going to come in the comment section and be like, I did it, and blah, 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 blah. I want the compared articles and what your argument is. God, this is so unprecedented to have a president feuding with the media like this. And we're going to get into that more at the end of the video. But anyways, AP had asked McFadden to rule that Trump's officials violated AP's constitutional right to free speech by taking the action because the president and his staff disagreed with the words that its journalists used. He had earlier declined AP's request to reverse the changes through an injunction. Because of its wide reach, the AP has traditionally always been included in polls for coverage of presidential events in places like the Oval Office and Air Force One. McFadden cautioned that his ruling does not necessarily herald a return to those days. The court does not order the government to grant AP permanent access to the Oval Office, the East Room, or any other media event. He wrote, it does not bestow special treatment upon the AP. Indeed, the AP is not necessarily entitled to the first in line every time. Permanent press pool access it enjoyed under the White House Correspondents Association. But it cannot be treated worse than its peer wire service either. It seems a bit toothless, no? Feel like it's not going to mean much. My hopes have been dashed. The judge said that the decision does not prohibit a government official from choosing which outlets to give interviews to or choosing which journalists' questions they choose to answer at a news conference. So what is the point of this again? This is an important decision, said Katie Follow, Deputy Litigation Director at the Knight First Amendment Institute at Columbia University. The First Amendment means the White House can't ban news outlets from covering the president simply because they don't parrot his preferred language. And Floyd Abrams, a longtime free speech attorney, cited American history and the reaction. What a splendid and well-deserved First Amendment triumph. Thomas Jefferson and James Madison would be pleased and relieved. Trump came out and said why he made the move. While there was a little dispute in a March 27th court hearing about why Trump struck back at the AP, the president said as much. The administration said it was up to its own discretion and not White House correspondence or a long-standing tradition to determine who gets to question the president and when. Since the dispute with AP began, the White House has taken steps to control who gets to cover the president at smaller events and even where journalists sit during Leavitt's briefings, saying both need to better reflect changes in how people get information. The most transparent administration of all time. What a joke. The AP's decision on what terminology to use are followed by journalists and other writers around the world through its influential stylebook. The outlet said it would continue to use the Gulf of Mexico as the body of water has been known for hundreds of years, while also noting Trump's decision to rename it to Gulf of America. Different outlets have used different approaches, some skirting it by calling it the Gulf. For anyone who thinks the Associated Press lawsuit against President Trump's White House is about the name of a body of water, think bigger. Julia Pace, AP's executive order, wrote in a Wall Street Journal op-ed, it's really about whether the government can control what you say. Testimony revealed AP's coverage has been impeded. Trump has dismissed the AP, which was established in 1846, as a group of radical left lunatics, and said that we're going to keep them out until such a time they agree it's the Gulf of America. Oh my God. Remember how the right used to be like, man, these damn leftists and all their names and pronouns, and then you got to call them the right thing. Oh, the projection. Banned a news agency from the White House because they won't refer to it as the Gulf of America, while the rest of the world refers to it as the Gulf of Mexico. Like literally the rest of the world. And like what? Only 50% of our own country probably refers to it as the Gulf of America, and that's being generous. Oh, geez. What a wild world we live in. For a news organization that relies on speed as a major selling point, the AP brought its chief White House correspondent and photographer to testify March 27th before McFadden about how its absence from covering certain events has delayed its transmission of words and images. Its lawyer, Charles Tobin, said AP has already lost $150,000 advertising contract from a client concerned about the ban. The government's lawyer, Brian Hudick, showed how AP has been able to use live streams or photos from other agencies to get news out, and pointed out that the AP regularly attends Leavitt's daily briefings. McFadden said in Tuesday's ruling in the case, Associated Press versus Budowich, that the government has been brazen about why it excluded the AP. And because this always happens, everyone's like, what about Biden? What about Obama? They did this too. And I got a lot of that for the firing of military officials under Trump, which I fact-checked that as well. That is only a Trump thing. Obama and Biden both respected norms and just the normal process it goes through. Anyways, that is beside the point. So, has a news outlet ever been banned from the White House before? Let's look at this in order. And you're going to see a pattern here. Pretty straightforward pattern. Let's start off with the Obama administration. The Obama White House attempted to exclude Fox News from a network pool interview with executive pay czar Kenneth Feinberg. This move was met with resistance from other networks, leading to Fox News being included in the interview. So I don't know the full story behind that, but we're talking about what? One interview? One instance, one interview during Obama's entire presidency. And it was for one interview. And they ended up being included anyways. Okay, now that we got that established, the Trump administration is the next most recent thing. Shocker, in February 2017, during President Trump's first term, several media outlets, including CNN, New York Times, and Politico, were excluded from an off-camera press briefing. This action was criticized by various journalist organizations as an attempt to stifle press freedom. So we'll say those two cancel each other out, okay? But we have more. In November 2018, CNN reporter Jim Acosta press credentials were revoked after a continuous exchange with President Trump during a press conference. A federal judge later ordered the White House to reinstate Acosta's credentials, citing concerns over due process. All right. And then our current situation. More recently, in February 2025, the administration barred Associated Press journalists from accessing the Oval Office in Air Force One. This decision was in response to AP's refusal refusal to adopt the term Gulf of America instead of Gulf of Mexico, following an executive order by President Trump. So, and we just read about all of that. I felt like Trump cared about free speech and the right was all big on free speech, but it seems like it's the right that's mainly censoring. Obama, I guess, tried a little thing with one interview, and when everyone got mad about it, he folded and let Fox News in anyways. So, yeah, I don't want to hear, but Biden, but Obama. Like, enough. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And I will see you in the next one. If you made it to this point in the video, I just want to give a special thank you. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button down below. And if you really enjoyed it, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button while you're down there. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. I will try to reply to any and all comments that I can. Until next time, watch that video on screen.